So we still have a couple minutes, so do whatever you want, but if anyone wants to tell me, did you need a password to get in this time? Because I noticed there's no waiting room. No password. Okay, I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm doing there then, because apparently I need one or the other, so. Sydney, is that a blanket or is that the actual fabric of your couch? The
It's a
zebras.
blanket.
That's awesome, okay. I was like, that'd be pretty impressive if that was the full-on,
No,
nice.
it's just a fuzzy blanket.
Nice. How's everyone doing today? Nice, I like it. Yeah, we got some thumbs up. Good. It is a gorgeous day out. I hope you guys got to spend some time outside because kind of sad about being inside right now.
Becky, I have a question.
Yeah.
If there was like 2 of the McGraw Hills that I didn't finish. If
Mhm.
we didn't get it done by like 3 o'clock, which was the due date,
Mhm.
can we not do it anymore?
Yeah, so the dynamic study modules, when those are closed, they close.
So it's
Will
not
it?
closed. It says like recharge. Like it'll let me do it, but it's not giving me the concepts or how many more I have left or.
Yeah, so I think the recharge setting is, I think they're trying to be fancy to say review. So you should continue to have access so that you can go in and basically use it to study. But once that due date hits, I don't think it'll let you like finish it for a grade. Has anyone else having experience with that? Or has anyone who's finished it, do you still get that recharge? What does that look like?
You can still do the recharge if you finished it, but you
Okay.
can't, yeah, you can't like take it again for a grade, at least when I finished them.
Okay, but it lets you go into review.
Yeah.
Yep. So what I'll do, just because we're all kind of getting used to this, what I'll do here for these first 2 weeks is I'll scoot those. It'll probably look like I changed the due date just to give you a little more time to do that. But keep that in mind after this week.
Right.
They're due when they're due.
Yeah.
Because really the idea is that when you come on Thursday, that you've
Yeah.
read the chapter, you've done the modules, you've watched videos. So, yep. But I will, Sydney, I'll open those so you should be able to finish them.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Other questions before we get started? So I have gotten feedback from a couple folks, which I super appreciate. Some like that the audio is not great on the recordings. And I agree, like kind of looking at the videos, it's like, it's really nice that you can see me, but you can't really see the PowerPoint then, and you can't really see the board. So I'm gonna try a different way. I still need to record the blood chapter for next week, which I plan to do and post tomorrow. And so I will try a different way doing those, and you can let me know if that's better. I think it's been working. I've set it up in Gen Bio, so I'll just be like a little picture in the corner, and I'll be trying to talk with my hands and a little screen, but you'll see the PowerPoint and anything that I'm drawing on there instead. Does that sound good? Okay. Awesome. So I did want to let you guys know, so I am recording today to see how that works. I don't think it's going to be particularly useful because we're going to be going into breakout rooms. So I'm not sure what that'll look like, but I am doing that today. So keep that in mind, that you are part of this recording. And chapter 18, the endocrine system, where to begin? So I was thinking a couple main things, and then I've got a couple activities to do. I want to leave time for questions. Because again, hopefully when you come on Thursday, right, this is the weird, it's like a 50% online class. So like treat it like that online class. You're reading, you're watching videos, you're learning. And then think of this kind of as that bonus, a chance to clarify things, hone in on some concepts that are a little more difficult. So absolutely come with questions when you come on Thursdays, and I'll leave some time for that. So where I do want to talk briefly though, before we jump in there, is feedback mechanisms, because I had a couple questions on that. And then that last question in lab exercise 24, where it had you like cut out the little pictures or at least draw lines, trying to figure out this axis. I want to talk about that real quick because that's a super important concept as well. So I am going to share my screen. All right, and so now I actually can't see most of you. So if you do have a question, you're gonna have to, I don't even know how that works. If you give me a thumbs up, if I get to notice that or not. So if you have a question, yell. Okay, so this picture is good actually for both of those topics. So let's start with this idea of an axis, right? So that question in your lab was talking about the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, or the hypothalamic pituitary thymal axis, or the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, right? And this picture kind of shows us what we have going there. So each of those is basically saying, okay, remember the hypothalamus, that's my excellent version of an arrow right there. The hypothalamus is the top of all of this, right? And we saw last week, get back to my mouse, we saw last week that the hypothalamus had 3 different ways it could act, right? It actually has neurons that go directly to the adrenal medulla, and so it acts as part of that somatic nervous system, right? That fight or flight response. And then we also talked about how the hypothalamus itself makes antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin, right? And those travel by neurons to the posterior pituitary. And then when we talk about this axis, or these axes, I guess is the plural, what we're looking at is its relationship to the anterior pituitary gland, right? So when they say hypothalamic pituitary, they're really cheating, right? It's always the anterior pituitary. Where's my, there we go, anterior pituitary. Wow, that's such an amazing arrow. There we go, anterior pituitary, right? Who remembers, how does a message get from the hypothalamus to the anterior pituitary? Show me a hand if you've got a, and Tanya.
Yeah, okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
It's capillaries?
It's capillaries, absolutely. And so you have what's called a portal system, and you will see that a couple times in this class as well. What is a portal system? They refer to this as the hypophyseal portal system. Who's got a, Joe?
That's just the network of capillaries that connects the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary.
Yep. And what's a little bit strange about this, I'm still trying to figure out how to get my drawing tool back. Let's try this. Is normally, right, blood goes into an artery, and then into a capillary bed, and then into a vein. And so what's strange in here is blood is coming into the hypothalamus, going into a capillary bed, And then instead of going into a vein, it goes into another capillary bed in the anterior pituitary, right? So that's what makes a portal system, is you have these two capillary beds attached. Tanya.
I thought it was fascinating because the anterior lobe comes from, in the embryo, it comes from the oral cavity and it just kind of like gets attached.
It's super
so
strange.
Is that how, like, why that is a portal system? Because it came from somewhere else?
Not necessarily. You'll see them in a few other places, but where that becomes important is thinking about like the anterior and posterior, and you saw this in lab, are actually totally different histologically. So glands are always epithelial in origin, and so that's why it's actually coming from the oral cavity. Some of that epithelium is moving up. Where the posterior pituitary, you saw the other name is neurohypophysis. It's actually part, coming from the nervous system. So, but yeah, this book pointed out that embryologic origin, and I haven't seen that before. That was neat. Okay, so the hypothalamus is telling the anterior pituitary what to do in this axis, right? HP, hypothalamic pituitary, and then whoever it's telling. So one of the things we'll see is as we look at the 7, or you already have looked at the 7 anterior pituitary hormones, they refer to a lot of them as tropic hormones. What did that mean? Who's got that one?
Basically means that like it causes
I see
the
Courtney.
Oh.
Oh, sorry, Allie, I couldn't see you. Courtney?
Oh, it just tropic means that it's kind of self-inducing the same hormone.
So it's triggering another hormone.
It's triggering another hormone, not the same hormone, but another one.
Right, but the names will look similar, right? So if it's thyroid stimulating hormone from the anterior pituitary, it's going to cause the release of the thyroid hormone, right? And so you kind of see this chain of events. So tropic is referring to kind of this, it's signaling the next hormone.
Okay.
I think of it kind of, I don't know if it's the same terminology or not, but in ecology, we talk about trophic levels, like producer, consumer, that sort of thing. And so it's like little steps in the ladder. So tropic, trophic, if that helps. It's probably not even related, but sometimes dumb things help us remember. Yeah, so we have all these tropic hormones. And then, so if it's the HPA axis, it's going to the adrenal gland, right? If it's the HPG, it's going to the gonads, right? So ovaries or testes. If it's the HPT, it's going to the thyroid. And the one that you will probably see the most is the HPA, so the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. In fact, I was just talking about that with my pathophysiology class yesterday, because it's part of the stress response. So if you look at the other nice thing on this image is that it's going to cover this idea of feedback for us as well. So let's just use the HPA axis, since that's the one I just said, oh, you're going to see this a lot, right? So we get a message from the hypothalamus. In the HPA axis, what's the hormone from the hypothalamus? I can't see anyone again. In the HPA axis.
CRH.
Good. So in the HPA axis, if you look at the hypothalamus, it's releasing a hormone CRH, which is
Cortisone releasing hormone.
corticotropin releasing hormone. Good. And I always end up abbreviating just with like RH for releasing hormone. Anytime you see releasing hormone or inhibiting hormone, you know it's coming from the hypothalamus. Okay, so what does that stimulate at the anterior pituitary? Joe?
The ACTH.
Good. And that stands for
adrenocorticotropic hormone.
Good. Adrenocorticotropic. Whew. Wonder why they abbreviate that one. Let's see if I can... Right, so there's the H and the P. So this is the HPA axis. That's going to go to the adrenal gland, and particularly it's going to the adrenal cortex and tells us to release what?
Is it
Holly?
epinephrine?
It's not. So epinephrine
Oh no,
is always
that's
going to
the
be from
adrenal medulla.
yep, you got it. Good. So it's one of our cortical hormones, but remember we have those 3 different zonas that are part of the cortex, and really we're only triggering one of those through this axis.
Is it
I don't know.
cortisol?
Raise my hand.
Sorry, who? Oh, how do you raise your hand? Is that Raina?
Yeah.
Thumbs up works. What do you got, Raina? What hormone?
Glucocorticoids.
Good. So we're looking at the, I'm sorry, the yes, glucocorticoids. In particular, cortisol. So in my lecture, when you go through those zonas, I tried to pull out the most important, right? So like, there's a whole group of hormones called the mineralocorticoids, but really the one you're going to hear about is aldosterone, right? And when you go to the glucocorticoids, mostly you're going to hear about cortisol, right? So then feedback-wise, which is the other place we were going, right? And sorry if I didn't point this out on this table here, and I pulled this from a different textbook, right? You've got that corticotropin releasing hormone, then the first hormone is the ACTH, then it goes to the adrenal cortex for those glucocorticoids, right? So you can kind of follow this around for any of those axes. But the other thing that's super important on here is this negative feedback, right? So almost everything in the body works on negative feedback. And all that means is that as hormone number 2, which in this case was which one? Just yell it out.
Adrenocorticotropic hormone.
Cortisol.
Sorry, yeah, why? I guess the first one, they're not even counting as a true hormone. They're just calling it a releasing hormone. Sorry, I asked that poorly. It's that one that comes from the actual, from not the pituitary. So in this case, it would be our cortisol. As that cortisol starts circulating in the blood, notice what it does. It actually acts as a messenger to tell the anterior pituitary, no more ACTH, we got plenty, right? And it feeds back on the hypothalamus and as well and says, no more corticotropin releasing hormone. We've got enough cortisol, no more. Okay, and so as cortisol levels rise, you should have this negative feedback, right, that basically stops the signals to produce more. And that's what you would see in any of these feedback mechanisms. So there was one question in your lab about the negative feedback on thyroid hormone. Same thing, as thyroid hormone levels start rising, and that triggers an increase in basal metabolic rate, that thyroid hormone should be feeding back on both the pituitary and the hypothalamus and saying, stop, we got enough, like no more. Okay, and so that's our negative feedback.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So can you generalize and just say that if it doesn't hit a target cell, that is kind of where negative feedback begins? Because once it hits the target cells, then it kind of keeps going.
So, right, so say thyroid hormone, it's having its effect by reaching a target cell and telling it to up metabolic rate. But you can kind of consider that there's some target cells on the pituitary and the hypothalamus, right? Because it's basically that hormone docking there that says stop.
Stop, okay.
So anytime negative feedback, just anytime you have something that's increasing, the feedback says we're going to make it decrease, right? Or if something's decreasing, the negative feedback is going to make it increase.
Okay. Thanks.
So does negative feedback then, does it stop every hormone? Like, does every hormone work that way?
Yes, but it's not all exactly the same. So for example, like the mineralocorticoids like aldosterone,
Uh-huh.
that actually gets released in response to, say, lower sodium levels or low blood pressure. So then it's actually the increase in sodium or the increase in blood pressure that is the negative feedback. It doesn't always necessarily go back to the hypothalamus and the pituitary.
Okay.
But they should all have a negative feedback that as something increases, we then counteract that.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, because I think where I was getting confused is I always see positive and negative. I think I saw this in class the other day. I always see them next to each other, positive and negative feedback. And so I'm like, okay, then, I don't know. My brain was getting confused. So, okay, they are
we'll make this super easy. What's the only hormone that we should really be talking about positive feedback with? Does anyone remember an example?
Oxytocin.
Good. Courtney, what's the story with oxytocin, or what's it for?
Well, it helped me have a baby.
It did, right?
Positive feedback. Yeah.
Positive feedback. So this is the only one, right? So it's like as the head of the fetus is pushing on the cervix, you release oxytocin, which good increases contractions, which pushes the head of the fetus harder into the
Right.
cervix. So you release more oxytocin, and then there's more contraction, right? And so it's this like, it just keeps building on itself.
Okay.
Aha.
And okay. And
Yep.
the rest are negative.
Negative.
Feedback-ish. Okay.
Yep. They're negative feedback, yeah, on the others. Yeah, so the two examples of positive, you'll see with hormones, oxytocin, and then with blood clotting, because as platelets come to the site of injury, they'll release some chemicals that attract more platelets, and then they're, right, so you're like building this clot in a positive feedback mechanism.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Other questions on positive and negative, because you'll see this in a ton of systems, and it's absolutely something that folks get confused on. Is negative feedback a good thing or a bad thing?
Good.
It's a good thing. And I think that confuses some people too, right? Because you're like, negative. Okay.
It's kind of like in psychology with like positive and negative reinforcement or positive and negative punishment. It doesn't necessarily mean it's like good or bad. It's just like, do you know what I mean? It's just like negative is taking away something is all negative means.
Oh, okay.
Positive is adding to.
So there's no actual like moral connotation to it either. Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's kind of like with this as well, is like negative is, okay, now the inhibitors are coming, it's taking it away. It's not necessarily
reversing.
a good or bad thing. Right. It's not a morality thing. So
yeah. Molly?
I always just think about it as negative reinforcement brings you back to homeostasis, and positive reinforcement kind of takes you further away to eventually get back.
I might not be able to handle the psychology examples then. Yeah, it's a negative is always a reversal. So the hard part about thinking about taking it away is think about blood calcium. So your body is trying to maintain blood calcium in a really narrow window. And we know two hormones now that regulate that. So if your blood calcium levels fall too low, what does the endocrine system do? What hormone?
Parathyroid.
Parathyroid hormone is going to be released from the parathyroid gland, right? And it actually acts to increase blood calcium levels. Okay, well, at some point we don't want to increase blood calcium levels anymore, right? We're going to go too far off the edge of the scale. So how do we bring it back to homeostasis? If blood calcium gets too high?
Calcitonin.
Calcitonin is released from which gland?
Anterior lobe. No.
The paraphilic, no, what is it? Parathyroid?
No.
Just the thyroid?
Just
Thyroid.
the thyroid.
Good. Yeah, that's the tricky one. So parathyroid hormone is from the parathyroid gland, calcitonin is from the thyroid, right? But the release of that brings it back down. And then if blood calcium falls too low, right, we bring it back up. And the thing to keep in mind too is like, this is like a constant shift. This isn't like, whoa, someone's going to the hospital because their blood calcium is too low. They need parathyroid hormone. Your body is making these minute adjustments all the time to keep you at that homeostasis. That makes sense. So it's not even always a direction, it's just a reversal. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Question? No. Okay.
I've got a quick question.
Yeah, right.
I guess, did you say it's constantly going kind of back and forth, or is it ever
Yes.
sort of at a level of homeostasis, or is it always just kind of bouncing, up and then back down and up and then back down? Is it that's kind of the way it works?
Yep. Yeah, just the same as like body temperature or something, right? It's like you don't always have to say even like sweat to cool yourself down, but like blood flow maybe changes to the surface of the blood. So you're like making like tiny adjustments all the time that aren't necessarily even noticeable.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah, good. Okay. So you've got two, so those were two major things that I did want to make sure we talked about, right? Those axes, and then also this idea of feedback mechanisms. Now, one of the hardest things I think about this chapter is you have a lot of memorization to do, right? So, and you're, with this online format, you're like, how am I going to make myself memorize these things, right? But again, you want to show up to nursing school being like, oh yeah, ACTH, totally got it, right? Not like trying to look up what it is in the back of your book. So what we're going to do here is I have a little activity for you guys. So if you, let me see if I can find it. 1 minute, moment. Let me make sure that worked. Okay, if you go onto Canvas, at the bottom of the module that had everything for chapter 18, you should hopefully now see a little button that says the Duca play. And I'm going to put you guys in breakout rooms to play a quick game of memory. Now, it's going to be abbreviations and their actual hormone names. The thing I will warn you is as soon as you click that second button and it shows you the word or the abbreviation, it disappears like that. So you don't have to be like super cutthroat. You could actually help each other out and be like, no, 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 it said growth hormone if the person that you're in a room with doesn't see it. But feel free also to use this as an opportunity to talk to each other. Like, okay, so you found GH and growth hormone. Use it as a chance to remind each other, what does that hormone do as well? Okay, so you're going to play memory, but you're also going to take a moment to make sure the person that you're playing with knows what the hormone's role is. We'll see what you guys think. Here you go. So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. If you have trouble, have we done breakout rooms in here? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Remember, you can always raise your hand if you're having any trouble with that.
A question.
Yeah.
So do we have one quiz going for each room, or each person do a separate?
Good question, Kelsey. So the easiest way to do this with another person is going to be to have one person open it and share their screen with the group.
Okay, sounds good.
So this is good. You guys get to practice your Zoom tech savvy and make sure someone can share a screen. Yep, good call. Yep, and raise your hand if you get stuck. It looks like a couple of the rooms are going to have 3 people just because we have an odd number. So go for it. There you go. Jennifer, do you see? Oh, there you go.
right there in the
Can I
middle.
ask, because I get confused, how do I stay in Zoom, but also then like open up Canvas and be able to then see that stuff and share the screen? Do you know? Did you just minimize and then come back?
I pushed like X escape, and
Okay.
then because I have a Mac, so I don't know
So
how
do
it is.
I, and that's,
Okay,
yeah.
so I
Okay.
pushed escape, and then you just go over to the other screen, and you
Okay.
should
I
be
just
able to
don't, I
open
was like
Canvas
afraid I
again.
was gonna lose my Zoom session then.
No, yeah, it'll stay.
I'm trying to like
It'll
open up
stay.
my iPad to go to Canvas. Okay.
Zoom is pretty well integrated, I think.
If
So
you have
here we
a
go.
Mac, you should be able to just open things in full screen, and then they'll be like on their own desktop, and you can
Oh.
use 3 fingers and go back and forth between them.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Are you guys all on Macs then?
I think so.
I think
Perfect.
I think
That's the
so,
perfect
yeah.
group. Okay,
Yeah.
you are in. Carry on.
We're in the game. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that so abruptly, you guys.
No, that's good.
Oh, I think that was, no, I think that one was up in the corner on the right, I
Here.
think. And nope, I'm wrong. I know we've seen it though. Maybe it was the one next to it, antidiuretic, for that one. No.
So the one left, yeah, that one.
Here?
That one, antidiuretic, yep.
Got it. All right. That was FSH. I think it's here.
Mhm. Nice.
Cheers. I think that's here.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think it was too. Yep.
Hey, what does thyroid stimulating hormone do?
Stimulates the thyroid.
To do what? Finish your round.
It's in charge of metabolism.
Yes, good.
Oh,
Finish
yeah.
your round and then play again, but remind each other what the hormones do.
It's a steroid hormone, and it helps produce like testosterone, right? Or no?
It helps to form and to it promotes like the growth of reproductive organs, I believe. Like
Okay.
I think I'm saying that right. I don't think I'm saying that right.
It helps like keep the testes healthy, like the reproductive organs healthy, right? For the male and female. Or no?
I don't know if it's in like if it's to keep them healthy or if it's to like stimulate them. Do you know what I mean? Like as you develop, I don't know.
Okay. I think it's just for the male too. Isn't that right? Isn't the LH the one male and female?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to.
Grab your book. Look them up.
I don't know where my book is. I always use
In production of milk for
Yes.
the
The lactating hormone, basically.
Male or reproductive system.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Isn't that the one that I always
There's estrogen secretion in the ovaries.
How'd we do? Nice, we got emoticons. Let's see, I can do well done. All right, there comes some other folks. How'd we do? Okay.
We worked through the list after matching them all up.
Perfect. It's funny, I forgot that it did that list. And so that as I was popping into rooms, I was like, oh, that's kind of perfect.
Yeah, it worked.
Good. There's everyone. Did we do okay? Okay, I kept, I don't know if it was coincidence or a real issue, but I stumbled into several rooms where the conversation was around FSH and LH. Yep, okay, so let's look at this real quick. So I pulled up PowerPoint. So on the male side, right, notice that from the pituitary in response to gonadotropin releasing hormone, right, in males, we release FSH and LH. FSH is follicle stimulating hormone. The easier place to think about it is in females. It's literally called a follicle where the egg develops, but FSH is always driving the production of the gamete, right? So we see FSH leading to sperm production. And we'll go into this in way more detail when we get to the reproductive system, but for now, FSH is leading to sperm production, right? And it's luteinizing hormone, LH, that's driving the production of the androgens. And the most common, androgen is a whole class of hormones. The most common one is testosterone, and that's fine. Somebody needs to mute themselves. The other nice thing on this picture is notice what happens as you increase the testosterone levels, right? So if the testes start producing a lot of testosterone, what do we have over here? Negative feedback, right? So it tells the pituitary and the hypothalamus enough, which is why if you, as a male, would take anabolic steroids, you actually then the hypothalamus and the pituitary decide not to tell the testes to make anymore. And so the testes will actually shrivel because they're no longer needed, right? And that was their job, right? That's part of that feedback loop. Okay, so that's in females, or sorry, that's in males. Here's females, right? So same axis, gonadotropin releasing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. I don't love this one as much. Follicle stimulating hormone increases the size of the follicle, and what's not written on here, now I don't like this table. What's not written on here is in the follicle, that's where the ovum is, right? So again, the gamete is being produced in response or matured in response to FSH. On the female side, that follicle also produces estrogen. So we get the egg and we get estrogen. Luteinizing hormone is ovulation. And that's where I'm like, this is kind of awkward because, I mean, you have to rupture the follicle to get ovulation. It is luteinizing hormone that triggers ovulation. So once a month, day 14 of your cycle, luteinizing hormone levels spike and an egg leaves the ovary. And then that ruptured follicle becomes what's called the corpus luteum. You don't need to know this right now, but that produces progesterone. So luteinizing hormone triggers ovulation and the production of progesterone.
Rebecca, can I ask, because we were just talking about this and I was a little confused. So in females, FSH it produces the follicle, which then produces estrogen, but does LH trigger estrogen?
LH triggers ovulation.
Okay.
And then you'll see in the second half of the cycle after ovulation that progesterone levels rise.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so I noticed that one, that people were stuck there. What else?
I think we had a quick, well, I did.
Yeah.
I guess I think we were going over, let's see, I guess this actually does have to do with FSH. Maybe you stumbled in there. So I guess we were looking at it, estrogen secretion in the ovaries, but it's not testosterone secretion in the testes. It's just sperm cell production.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that.
Sorry, for which hormone?
FSH.
Correct. So FSH in the male is just sperm production, and then LH is the testosterone production.
Okay. I just, wanted to clarify that they weren't both secreting their respective
Correct.
hormones.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think that's where people get confused, is because it's like a little, a little different. Okay. Any of those other hormones?
Could you talk a little bit about growth hormone? It's kind of like a broad hormone. It seems like, and I'm having a tough time kind of, yeah.
Yeah, which lecture? Did I do that in a lecture? Where is that? Please tell me I did that in a lecture.
I don't have any notes about it from this last module.
Let's do a quick one. Hold on. Whew. Maybe that's the downside of me trying to like spread everything out, because I totally didn't do it. Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that. Excellent question. So I'm gonna pull up. I need to share my screen. And this probably isn't the best picture to do it from, but this is the picture I have right now. So you're stuck with me. So here we go from the anterior pituitary. Oh, that's not right. Right, there's growth hormone, the GH, and you see the liver, and then bone, muscle, and other tissue. I wanted like an oval. Okay, growth hormone. So growth hormone is being released from the anterior pituitary. And really it has two different ways that it acts, right? It can have direct effects or it can have indirect effects. And actually most of its activity is through these indirect effects. So growth hormone goes to the liver. Right? And in the liver, that's going to trigger the release of another set of hormones called somatomedins. Right? So these are the indirect effects. So these somatomedins then are what's going to say bone, muscle, cartilage is really responsive to it as well, and triggering that growth.
So it's a tropic hormone?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess at least in the indirect effects of that it is. And then, where is it? Then if you're looking more at like the direct effects, it's definitely like metabolic sort of things. So stimulating cells, say, to produce more proteins, right? Moving amino acids into the cell so that the cell can use them, moving glucose into the cell so the cells can use them, that sort of thing. But when you truly think like growth hormone, a lot of that's actually indirect. Does that help? Sorry, I did not, you're totally right. I did not cover that at all, and it is an important hormone.
It's in the video, I think.
It is in one of the?
Yeah, it's when you were talking about anterior pituitary hormones, and Because I have somatropin written down, how it increases.
Okay, that makes me feel better because I'm like looking through the titles of all my slides and I'm thinking, did I really not put that somewhere? But yes.
I think it's in the second video, I think. I forgot.
Well, that would make me feel better.
Yeah, it's in there. Just don't know which one.
Yeah, I wrote about it too, Becky.
Okay. Oh yeah, I've got a little something. But that is a challenging one, yeah, because people go like, wait, it can directly talk to cells, but then it can also get converted and talk to cells. So yeah.
I would like the difference between like, so when it's, oh, okay. So aging affects your endocrine system. I am confused on like how a person who is healthy and older, like how the decrease of their endocrine system to somebody who isn't healthy. Because like for the chapter, it asked a lot about that, and I just kept getting confused between like somebody who is healthy and isn't healthy. Like what are, like what does and doesn't happen.
Yep. So, and you will find usually it's like at the very end of each chapter that they'll go through like the aging process and its effects on the system. So the endocrine system, maybe it's, I mean, I guess it's not unique in this way, but right? I mean, think about this idea that like you go through childhood and certain portions of your endocrine system are super active, right? Like growth hormone and all the cells are listening for growth hormone. And then you hit puberty and suddenly there's all these like reproductive hormones that were in either super low levels or not existent. And then in females, right, you hit menopause and it changes again. So like in some ways, this is kind of a very different system, I would say, in that regard. So what you'll find in aging, I suppose, is kind of a general decrease in these hormones, particularly like you'll see things like thyroid hormonal decrease. That's why you see maybe that slowdown in basal metabolic rate. Growth hormone absolutely decreases. It's like the big thing on the internet right now, like old men getting ripped by taking, you know, like growth hormone, which has other effects as well. I'm not saying it's a good idea. So I would say in general, you're seeing a decline. Like we even saw with the thymus, which we said kind of is indirectly, I mean, it's producing thymosins to get T cells to mature. It atrophies with age. And so I would say that's the general trend, Carolina, is like this decrease in endocrine function as you get older. Even, I feel like some of them stay better longer. Like you tend to be able to maintain blood calcium levels into older age. So it seems like parathyroid hormone and calcitonin are working pretty well. But a lot of them are yeah, really declining.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then when you take pathophys, you'll talk about a bunch of the dysfunctions, but you'll definitely see things like some different tumors, different autoimmune diseases and things like that that can interfere with these organs functioning. And those tend to be pretty abrupt. It's not like a gradual decline. It's like way too much or way too little of something.
Okay. Okay, I think I got it. Thanks.
How are we with the pancreas? That's another huge one that we should definitely make sure we're good with. Can someone explain the role of insulin?
It is.
Is that Audrey? Okay.
Yeah. It is the hormone that's released after you have eaten a meal to encourage your other organs to uptake glucose out of the blood. So it would essentially, that's the way that it lowers blood sugar.
Yes. So there you go. There's another negative feedback. You ate food, your blood glucose levels rose. The pancreas releases the insulin, which actually physically, when it is messaging the cells, it's telling them to put more receptors into their surface so that glucose can get in, right? So glucose goes into the cells. And then what happens if those blood glucose levels drop too far? Like maybe first thing in the morning?
Was it glucagon? Is
What does it do, Britt?
I know it raises blood sugar levels. I'm trying to remember how exactly.
Ooh,
I don't know.
that's a good question.
But
Yeah, so
yeah.
it definitely raises blood glucose levels. Raina, where does it get that glucose?
I just lost where I was. I just read. So when blood levels drop, glucagon is released to tell the liver to split glycogen into glucose, and then that will get us back to homeostasis.
Yes, good. So remember, glycogen, you have that polysaccharide that the liver and skeletal muscle is storing. So glucagon, oh, this is where people get confused. Glucagon tells the liver to split glycogen into glucose. Glucagon tells the liver to split glycogen into glucose. It releases that into the blood, and your blood glucose levels come back up.
And then what were those? Did they call those antagonists or what were antithesis?
Yeah, so they're antagonists because they
Okay.
work in opposite
Yeah.
patterns. Yep. So
Okay.
just like parathyroid hormone and calcitonin would be antagonists.
Got it.
Good, Brett.
Okay.
Is it only the liver that glucagon triggers, or is it this? Because you said skeletal and
Yeah, so yeah, that's a really good question. So your two main places that you store glycogen are skeletal muscle and the liver. But skeletal muscle actually is lacking an enzyme that would let that glucose back out.
Okay.
And so it can really only be released from the liver. So your skeletal muscle may be told to break glycogen down, but it has to use it itself. It doesn't get to share.
Oh, okay, I see. Oh, and the other question I had is and I please forgive me, but the other secretion of the pancreas that starts with an S, I think I remember one of the questions was like, it's released by delta cells. Is that?
Oh, is it somatostatin?
Yeah. What's up with that? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
It was in the smart book stuff, and I was like, oh, okay. I don't know.
Sorry. Yeah, that one's a pretty minor. Yep.
Okay, cool.
So what happens to your blood sugar levels, like, in your body with insulin when people go on these crazy fad diets like the Atkins diet, and then I just worry it just can't be healthy learning all the ways things are balancing. And once you take out something, your body's just got to be a mess.
So I would say my takeaway from it is that the body is an amazingly resilient machine. You could feed it nothing but Twinkies for years.
You'll be fine.
And keep living. I'm not saying you'll be fine, right? But you could keep living. Where like your car, I mean, if you accidentally put regular gas in a diesel, right, it's done.
Yeah.
Right? But our body is amazingly resilient. If you decided to eat nothing but steak, you'd probably get away with it. If you decide to eat nothing but pineapple, it's going to be a while before you notice any problems. So I'm have you guys read any Michael Pollan?
I haven't.
So,
oh yeah.
Omnivore's Dilemma, In Defense of Food. I'm trying to think of some of his other books. I'm kind of a Michael Pollan gal. So it's like, eat food, like real food, not too much, mostly plants.
Yeah.
I love him. He's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, some of the diets, you can get away with a lot of stuff, but yeah, I'll leave it at that. Have fun in your nutrition class. You talk about it a lot. Okay, I made one more game for you guys. So if you are on Canvas, you will see another link opened now. And this one is more of a labeling game. And so are you guys good? Do you want me to just leave you in the same groups?
Yeah.
Do you guys we play nicely together? Okay, I'm just gonna throw you in those same breakout rooms. And this one's more of a labeling game. Have fun. You got it, Jennifer? There we go.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so how are we doing this?
So it says click on cortisol. So where would cortisol be coming from?
Oh, I see. Okay.
The adrenal cortex.
So this guy?
It's hard to tell what's the cortex and what's the medulla.
Yeah, here, let me see if I can.
Or maybe the purple one further down. The purple square rectangle.
This one? Is that what
No,
you're
from
talking about?
the adrenal medulla.
Oh,
on
okay.
left. I wonder if the purple box further down might be the cortex, and then the blue circle is maybe the medulla.
Oh, sorry, I realized I had no volume. Yes.
Maybe click on this. Score 0. No, that wasn't it. Is that what you meant, Joe?
No, I meant if you go to the adrenal cortex and then the purple arrow straight down. I think that. Yeah, I think there is cool.
Right here. Got
Yeah,
it.
is that good? Okay. So the medulla is the middle.
Boom.
Okay.
Okay, epinephrine.
Yeah. Okay.
So you could start with the growth hormone. That one's off the bone or muscle, whatever. That looks like a leg or something.
Except see how at the top it says, see how it says click on oxytocin? Yeah. So which one of those boxes would indicate oxytocin?
That's the one that connects to the mammary glands and the prostate.
Uterus and prostate.
Uterus and prostate.
Give it a try.
Holy moly.
Boom.
Estrogen.
Estrogen.
I can't tell what these are.
So this one at the bottom, so starting on the right, that one's the kidney. The one down from that is the,
Is that we got that one already.
maybe we do. Okay.
Prostate and uterus.
Okay.
I was wondering if that was the uterus. Okay, so this is the prostate.
Yep.
Okay, so ACTH. I don't know. Can we move on to the next one?
I don't know that it'll let you. So what does ACTH stand for?
Adrenocorticotropic.
Tropic hormone.
Okay, who produces that hormone?
Adrenal gland.
No.
It triggers the adrenal gland.
But it's from the anterior pituitary.
Correct. So can you, yep. So
that side, and so it's got, is it here?
Nope. So the adrenal gland's on the other side. Top left. Yes. Try that one. There you go.
I need bigger glasses.
Sorry.
They're so big already.
I think it does give you a choice to like maximize the screen when you're in there, but don't, yeah.
Okay, I'll do it next time.
Okay.
these so that it can be sent out to the skeletal muscle
Yep.
fiber.
The muscle.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oxytocin. Vagina.
Yeah. Antidiuretic to the kidneys.
Kidneys?
The
Yep. Against healing. Release
Yep.
when it-
I think
Is
you're
it-
right. I think so. Yeah.
Ah!
Gosh darn it.
Was it before it then?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I just thought it would say stimulating.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
Okay, androgens in
But this is a good point actually, because we were on the right track. So growth hormone just comes straight out of the anterior pituitary, and then the liver is the thing that she just talked about this because we asked her. What's the semi?
The like nerve cell right there.
Oh, the or yeah, that exact. It's like I think you can see me pointing at that.
I can feel you. Yeah.
Growth hormone.
Growth hormone. So that
Would that be that top? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's
Oh, so
oxytocin.
oxytocin. Is that the uterus one?
Yeah,
That
it must
there
be.
we go.
Okay, what is this little heart-shaped
Yeah,
guy
what is
supposed
that?
to be?
Rebecca.
It's the prostate gland.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep. So
Okay.
prostate and uterus.
And this is the ovary, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I know part of the problem is, so I pulled this out of your book didn't have a nice picture that had all of this. So I pulled this from a different book. So you're like, what are they even pointing to? But looks like you got it.
We got most of them, yeah.
Cool. And you feel free, like until I tell you to come back in, you can always hit play again and you can probably do it faster next time, whatever you want.
Gotcha.
Job.
Here, but it looks like it's coming from between the two. That's anterior, right? But it's like a different color than
MSH
MSH. Yeah.
is melanocyte stimulating.
Yeah. That's anterior, right?
What's your question?
Where
The question
MSH is produced?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like according to this, looks like it's right between the two lobes.
Yeah, I always count it as one of the 7 anterior pituitary hormones, but some places you'll see them actually talk about a slightly different region kind of between anterior and posterior. But I'm fine if you call it anterior pituitary.
Okay.
Tracy, did you find it in the book just now? In your book?
In which, yeah.
They included it in anterior pituitary, correct? Melanocyte stimulating hormone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool, you guys should play again. Play a speed round.
I take it with Becky.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, you have to take it with Becky. Like I don't like if you don't take it with Becky, you wouldn't learn anything.
You guys are sweet. I'm in here. I just sent a message. Play a speed round.
Okay.
Oh.
You heard us chatting. We're just saying how great you are.
That's all I caught, which was very touching. So I'll call you guys back in just a minute.
Okay.
Which makes epinephrine. growth hormone, TSH.
That's not a connection. Where
That
does
is it?
growth hormone goes to the liver?
That was weird.
They're overlapping each other. So 7 is growth hormone. It goes down to the liver, which goes to number 8.
I can't move it.
Maybe don't click, just hover.
I think it's too late.
Okay.
Sorry, it's orange. I don't know what I did.
I don't know either. I'll be calling you guys back in just a minute. Anyway, you can hit at the very bottom, there's a play again button. You can always run through there as well.
All right, you guys want to do it again?
Sure.
Is that the breast one?
It's
or ovary?
coming out of, yeah.
Uterus.
Or no. Or that, yeah, that's the uterus. But does it interact with the prostate?
Uterus and prostate.
Epinephrine is adrenal.
Epinephrine, adrenal.
The blue circle.
Yeah. Oh, that's bottom left, below the testes. Prolactin, the breast.
There's only one left.
Breast.
Okay.
Good job, guys.
Becky, do we have access to this game? You're muted. You're muted.
Can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
So I'll leave it published on Canvas, so you should be able to follow that link, or you could go on to a Duca Play and pull it up.
Perfect.
Yeah. You'd like it?
No, I don't like it, but it's helpful.
Okay. All right, I'm going to call you guys back in just a minute. How'd it go?
It was really good.
Okay.
We played twice.
Yes. It helps once you kind of get a feel for what the image is. Some of them are kind of abstract.
What was the weird purple thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Over with the uterus that oxytocin affects, the prostate.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then the melanocyte.
Melanocyte.
Yeah, it's a melanocyte. But that's a strange one. Maybe we should talk about that one too.
Yeah, because the only thing I wrote down was like it increases in pregnant women, like having different pigmentation.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
That reminds me of when my mom had her, my youngest brother, she got kind of like her skin temporarily kind of got dark.
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah. So we were just talking about melanocyte stimulating hormone because there was that weird like spider shaped cell that was trying to be a melanocyte. And so the strange thing is that in most adults, it's not melanocyte stimulating hormone that triggers melanin production. It's what?
Melatonin.
Nope.
Is it vitamin D?
Nope. What makes you tan?
Sunlight.
The sun.
Oh.
Which also makes you produce vitamin D, right? But so it's actually the sun, UV radiation, that stimulates melanocytes to produce melanin. It's really, melanocyte stimulating hormone is really only functional apparently in a fetus. And then like Tanya's pointing out, sometimes in pregnant women, it becomes active and will give you like a tan. And it's not always even like a uniform tan. It can be kind of splotchy and stuff.
Okay, Becky, really quick. So when we did the speed round, the only thing that we kept getting wrong was where cortisol gets released from. Because like on the picture, I don't know why we like kept missing this, but I just want to confirm it gets released from the zona fasciculata. That's where that comes from the cortex, from the adrenal cortex.
Hold on, let me pull this up. Yep, so this is one of my favorite images here, right? And it should look like what you were seeing in lab, right? So the medulla on the inside, I think what was confusing people on there, so my little adrenal gland over here, the medulla had a line going out to the side to a blue circle. And what does the adrenal medulla produce?
Adrenaline.
Epinephrine.
That epinephrine or adrenaline, same thing. And then there was a purple line, and it was difficult to tell which was which, but that was the one coming from the cortex.
Okay. Cool. Thank
And
you.
so that's where you had the cortisol. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so someone was asking me, I'll leave those links up on Canvas, so you should be able to go in and play that anytime you want, you know, have some friends over, label.
That was actually kind of fun. I really enjoyed that.
So this is the thing, when you have massive amounts of stuff to memorize, you have to come up with these ways of like, how am I actually going to get this in my brain? And in a way that that you can actually work with it, right? That it's not just like rote memorization, but you could say, oh, well, wait, okay, I know there's 7 anterior pituitary hormones, so it's got to be coming off of this, right? I know this is an anterior pituitary hormone. Okay, well, let's see, if it's going to the liver, which of those hormones, right? And so it kind of makes you actually think through it. So, yep, so that'll stay up. And this is normally, like, if I had you guys in person, I would have handed you that on a piece of paper and you would have sat there with classmates and labeled it. So this was my best attempt to recreate that experience. And you guys did a great job. I know that was really hard. You're like, no, over to the left. No, the next one. I will take this moment to remind you that in breakout rooms, if you have another screen up, you won't necessarily know when I pop in. So fortunately, the group I popped in on was talking nice things about me. But I did want to remind you, right, that like, it's probably not a great time, like if you like hated an assignment or, you know, whatever. Just know that I could be there at any time. I just got a question. Okay, cool. All right, what else? We've only got, what, like 10 minutes left? So are there any kind of final things that you have questions on or we could go over?
I was wondering, quick question. Did you ever find out if you could like review your smart book assignments or the quizzes, like any to like study? Any way to?
Anybody have experience yet on that?
I think you can do that recharge, and that'll help bring that studying up.
Molly, have you done the recharge?
I haven't, just because I don't always find it super helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think it'll just kind of, I don't know if it'll bring you through the questions or not. So I don't know if maybe someone else has it better.
Has anyone else tried it?
I have done the recharged before.
Denise, you have used it?
Yeah, I have done it before. It just like, it doesn't show you the concept. It just goes over over and over. It doesn't even have like a limit.
Okay.
You just keep doing tests until you just stop. You stop on your own. It doesn't like stop for you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And does it bring up basically the same
questions?
The same questions. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But what about the quiz? Is there a way we could get the quiz itself, like to view our answers, what we got wrong? Because it's kind of unclear what we did get wrong.
Mm-hmm. So I know. I'm super curious. Like people were getting like a 23.78. I'm like, what is this grading? So it should show you the answers after the due date. So it won't show them to you immediately, but like you guys should be able to see the answers, at least from my side. The way I set it up was to let you see the answers after the due date. So somebody might check while someone's pulling that up to see if you can find it. And if you can, if you want to share a screen or show people, we can make that happen. I will post this on Canvas, but I did want to say it while we're here. So our sheep blood for lab next week did not arrive. Well, it hasn't shipped. So Patty was just texting me. So I'm going to switch it. So this coming week in lab, we'll actually dissect hearts. And so I'll make a post on Canvas, but you'll want to look through some of that heart anatomy before you come to lab. And then hopefully the world will not be out of sheep blood the following week, and we'll go ahead and get to do that blood lab the following week. So I'll post that.
So do you want us to still do the same lab review beforehand, or we're going to do an entirely different, got it. Okay, just checking.
Yep. Yeah, so Where did I put my lab manual? We will do, this week we'll go ahead and do exercise 27, which is just the structures of the heart. So we'll be looking for different chambers and valves and things like that. And I will post that up on Canvas.
What kind of heart are we dissecting?
Rena, say that again?
What kind of heart are we dissecting? Where's the heart from?
That's a good question. I don't know if they're cow or pig. Let me see what Patty said. Pig hearts.
That is this coming Tuesday?
Yeah, so we'll do that this coming Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Since I'm already unmuted. Okay, I'm still kind of confused on calcitonin. It tries to prevent a large increase in blood levels, correct?
Of blood what levels? Blood calcium.
Blood calcium levels? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Calcium, calcitonin. Okay.
And, ooh, that's not where I wanted to be. And sorry, sharing screen real quick. And one of the things to keep in mind, and your book I didn't love quite as much as previous ones, is think about how this is related to the skeleton, right? If you want to raise blood calcium levels, parathyroid hormone is stimulating the osteoclasts, remember our little chompers, to dump calcium out of the bone. If you don't want your blood calcium to go too high, calcitonin is going to tell osteoblasts to build the bone, to tuck calcium away for storage. And then it also, and this is where I was like, oh, your book didn't do quite as nicely on this. They both also can affect the small intestine. So you either increase absorption of calcium if you want to increase blood calcium, or you decrease absorption of calcium if you want to decrease it. And then they also act on the kidney, telling you either to hold on to the calcium if you're parathyroid hormone, or telling you to pee it out if you're calcitonin. So you get a few different ways to get there.
I had a question on the Courtney's functional quiz.
Oh, that's for Courtney only.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. I thought it was a special quiz from Courtney.
I did that too. Don't feel bad. I did that. I started doing it and then I just stopped when Becky said that's for Courtney, and I was like, oh, so I haven't gone back to it.
Oh, that's awesome. I thought there was this person, Courtney, and she had this awesome functional quiz.
Courtney's in our class. No, so the funny thing is with all of this online stuff, I'm like, okay, how can I make this super obvious and not confusing for anyone? So I was like, Courtney's quiz, and then like people are taking it, and whatever, you can take it, but it's not going to be in your score. Courtney, you need to take that so I can close it.
Well, I know. I was on hold for an hour with McGraw-Hill Connect because it wasn't opening, and they told me they'd call me back in 12 hours. So they finally called me back, and I'm taking it right after class today. And then
okay, we'll make sure it's still open. I may have to adjust that again.
It was a nightmare. They're like, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm like, it won't open. And then they opened it on their end. And then right when I got back, I opened it just a minute ago, but we had class. So I need to do it now.
Okay. I'm in office hours right after this if you're having any trouble.
Okay. It's
Molly?
Because the quiz, like once you open it, oh, yours aren't that way. Never mind. Micro was that way, that once you open it, it starts, and then these aren't that way. So never mind. Sorry.
Dude, you guys are killing me in the chat. This is hilarious. Okay.
Also, for the quiz, I looked and I'm not able to go in and review any of the material.
I wasn't either.
Then when I go in, like, I clicked around on several things, and there's one thing that says, like, review here. And I was like, oh, that must be it. And all it did was show me my score. And I was like,
and then that's not what I need.
It was like, here's your score, exit now. I was like, all right.
Okay,
anyway, just letting you know, but
I will do that in office hours because you guys absolutely should be able to see that.
I want to know what I got 0.0006 points for.
You and me both. And the other thing I will say is do keep an eye on it. So it should be auto loading into Canvas, but like Carolina, I'm like, did you not take the quiz? And she actually sent me a screenshot right? It showed up on mastering and then not in the grade book. So do keep an eye on the Canvas gradebook, and if there's ever anything like, I mean, sometimes it just takes a while to load, like don't freak out. But if it's like a few days later and you're like, that's weird, feel free just to send me a screenshot.
Sounds good.
So then someone asked about, are there 7 or 9 anterior pituitary hormones? So I am usually not counting. What did you have? The lipotropins and the beta endorphins. I have not counted them. I suppose you wouldn't be wrong if you said 9, and I'm kind of wondering if we're still finding new things, but I typically have not included them.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tracy, the 9, so I typically say 7 anterior pituitary, and if you're seeing 9 in the book, they are including these lipotropins and beta endorphins. Maybe I need to get up with the times, but I don't typically talk about them, so I don't typically include them. I'll try to remember not to make a test question that's like, how many anterior pituitary hormones are there? Okay. All right. If you don't have any more questions, you're welcome to head out. If anyone has questions and wants to stick around, feel free. I also have office hours, which I'm still trying to figure out. Like in WebEx, I would just hang out in the room and people could pop in and out, and I'm not seeing that in Zoom. So you might just have to shoot me an email if you want me to start a meeting for that. So. Okay. Otherwise, tomorrow the plan is to get the blood chapter up, right? But you guys should have access to the reading. Your quiz is already posted for this chapter, and you have until when to take quizzes in this class?
Midnight on Sunday.
Midnight on Sunday. About to double check and make sure that's showing up for you. Yes.
Does it say in the syllabus when your office hours are?
It does.
Okay, all right, I'll check that out. Thanks.
Yep.
Hey, Becky.
Yeah.
Will you also extend the McGraw-Hill for just this week until Sunday at midnight?
Yeah.
Or whenever? That would be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Becky, since the lab is going to be dissecting the heart and it's a different lab exercise,
yes.
Is the reading still going to be the same though that you had scheduled?
Yeah, so still do the blood chapter, because some people have actually already started that. So do the blood chapter, look at all those cells, and then you'll get to see the blood cells the following week. And then we'll be dissecting the hearts, and you'll already be thinking about chambers and stuff when you get to that week. So
okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Bye. Thanks. Yeah.
Long weekend. Have fun.
Thank you.